Hello and good afternoon. My name's Emily. I am the Chief Accountant here at FreeAgent. I hope you all have both sound and vision switched on. If you're having issues with either, please don't worry. We will be sending out a recording of this webinar. Today, I'm going to be doing this demo in my sole trader account. I'm currently on the overview screen at the moment. I'd like to take the next 20 minutes or so to show you how to easily and quickly bring your data into FreeAgent so that you can then file your self-assessment return. Just to say, I won't be going over everything about how to fill in the self-assessment return in this webinar. If you're looking for that, then your best bet would be to go to our recordings page. You'll find a recording there of a webinar that covers how to fill in your self-assessment return in a bit more detail. But as you'll see, quite a bit of the return is going to be filled in automatically by FreeAgent. You will need an active FreeAgent account. You can use one that you've set up or you can create a new one, but please make sure you choose the correct business type if you're making a new account: sole trader, limited company, or if you rent out properties that you own, that would be unincorporated landlord. So most sole traders, unincorporated landlords, and directors of limited companies should be able to file their self-assessment directly from their FreeAgent account. I'm afraid we don't support filing for partners or for partnerships, though. The process for entering the data is the same for a limited company or a landlord as it is for a sole trader, though for a limited company, you'll also need to make sure you've recorded your payroll. We support the same self-assessment pages for each account type now, and you'll see more detail on that in our knowledge base. You can access the knowledge base through the support section of our website, or alternatively via the link at the bottom of your FreeAgent account. I'm going to click that link to show you our knowledge base. I'm going to go to the tax section. There are a number of guides relating to self-assessment. Hang on, am I in the correct section? I think our team have been doing some work on our knowledge base. I think they foxed me there. We have a brand new shiny self-assessment section, which is fantastic. So you can see here, there are a number of guides relating to self-assessment. Some that might help you might be the guides to self-assessment for unincorporated landlords if you're letting out property. We've got a guide for sole traders and one for company directors. But as you can see there, we've got lots of really useful articles about self-assessment. I'll give you our contact details at the end of the webinar and explain also what queries our support team can help with. Let me go back into my FreeAgent account now. In order to file your self-assessment, you will need to have registered with the Revenue, HMRC, for online filing. And you would need to have a government gateway ID, password, and unique taxpayer reference. If you're not sure how to obtain these, or you have any questions regarding these credentials, HMRC do also have a dedicated self-assessment section of their website to help with this. The self-assessment tax year runs from the 6th of April one year to the 5th of April the following year. The return we're looking at now is the one that runs from the 6th of April 2022 to the 5th of April 2023. This return needs to be submitted online on or before the 31st of January 2024. The content of reports and returns in FreeAgent are date-driven, so please do check that you've entered the correct accounting dates. To do this, navigate to Settings and Accounting Dates. Please don't be tempted to put in any data dated before the FreeAgent start date. If you've been trading for a while, the historic data needs to be entered as part of your opening balances. You can find this by looking at our knowledge base guides about your opening balances. See there, I'm searching for opening balances. We've got different ones for different business types. And also, if you're a sole trader or in partnership, make sure that you choose the correct one for your basis of accounting, accruals or cash. Okay, let's get started by going back to the overview page. As you can see from my overview page, there's almost no data in my account. That's deliberate. I've created a bill and invoice dated in the 2022 to 23 tax year, and I've added some bank transactions for that period too. I'll create a new invoice and bill in a few minutes to let you see how to do that. But the next step, though, is to bring all your bank transactions for the year into your FreeAgent account. This will let you record your income and expenditure by explaining all the business-related bank transactions. You can import your bank transactions into FreeAgent regularly by setting up the automatic bank feed. You can set up a bank feed by going to the banking section, click Bank Accounts, click on the account you want to set the feed up for, then click Enable Bank Feed. From there, you would select your bank and follow the on-screen instructions. If your bank feed is via open banking, then you can import transactions up to 2 years prior to the setup date. If not, you may need to upload historical bank transactions. This can be done by logging into your online banking and downloading the transactions in either a QIF, OFX, or CSV file format if available. It might also be an idea to download the transactions in manageable chunks, i.e. a month at a time, so that you make sure your FreeAgent bank account reconciles. In other words, you want to make sure your FreeAgent account mirrors your actual bank and there are no duplicate or missing transactions. Once you've downloaded your bank transactions, please don't open the file you've downloaded. Instead, go into your FreeAgent account, go to Banking, Bank Accounts, click the bank account you want to work with, and then click the Upload Statement button. That is where you would upload the statement file into FreeAgent. I have already uploaded some transactions, as I mentioned. So if I go into my business current account and choose to view the latest statement upload, you can see those here. This is what your account will look like after uploading a bank statement. You should see all your transactions in red, which means you need to tell FreeAgent what these were for, or explain them as we call it. Or if you enable the guess option as you upload your statement, FreeAgent will try to work out what your transactions are for and mark them as amber instead to show you that you need to confirm that FreeAgent's guesses are correct. I'll tell you more about the guess option just shortly. Let's firstly look at recording income, which can be done in 2 ways. The first way is to create a sales invoice. You can do this by going to the Work tab, click Invoicing, and then click the green Add New Invoice button. On a side note, any green buttons in FreeAgent indicate that you'll be creating something new. In this case, I'm going to create a new invoice. First, we'll input the general invoice details. You can choose your contact and project if applicable. Set your invoice reference. Choose the invoice date. I'm going to make this the 1st of December 2022. The currency will leave as pound sterling, but you do have the option to invoice in a number of different currencies. You do also have a number of optional features when you're setting up an invoice, but I would recommend having a look at the knowledge base to see what additional options are available in all these sections and get more information. So I'll generate this new invoice by clicking the Create New Invoice button. FreeAgent has now generated a blank invoice for us, and we can add invoice items by pressing the green button, Add Invoice Item. If there are items that you use often, you can add them as a price list item. You'll later be able then to choose that from here. I'm going to add a week's retainer for £1,000, and I'm then going to click Create and Finish. Once you're happy with the invoice, you have the option to mark as sent. This will tell FreeAgent that you've sent the invoice to your customer and it's ready to be matched up to a bank receipt. Once all your invoices for the 2022 to 23 tax year are logged on FreeAgent, you would navigate back to the bank, like so. I'm going to pull up my latest statement upload again and then explain the cash coming into the bank as invoice receipt. I'm going to match up the £1,000 money in transaction here. If you have Guess enabled, then FreeAgent will do its best to match the transactions automatically. So FreeAgent has spotted that I've got an outstanding invoice for £1,000 for which the dates would fit. So it has suggested that that is the invoice I want to match it to. It's correct, so I'm going to click Explain Transaction. And you can see that that transaction has now turned to green, indicating that no further work is required on it. Alternatively, if you don't need or want to create invoices, you can just explain the cash coming into the bank as sales. I'm just going to select briefly this one transaction, set the type to sales and explain it. Or I can bulk explain transactions by clicking the checkboxes to the left, like so. And then on the right, I can explain all of those transactions at once. This one is another invoice. So again, I want to choose invoice receipt. If you have created invoices, please make sure to use the invoice receipt option when you explain the money coming in. If you've created an invoice, but you explain the money coming in as sales, then that will actually double count the income and you'll pay more tax than you need to, which obviously is not a great idea. So that's all my money in transactions explained. Whether you're creating sales invoices or not, you can create additional income categories to put your sales to if you need to by going to Settings and Accounting Categories. You see, I've just got the one category for sales. I could add a new income category should I wish. Once I've recorded all my income, I need to record the expenditure the business has paid for. Again, you can do that in two ways. Firstly, you could enter a bill. Bills in FreeAgent are used for invoices that you've received from a supplier that you're going to pay for from the business bank account, but not immediately. So to add a new bill, go to Bills and click Add New Bill. Choose the contact, give it a reference. The reference would come actually from the supplier invoice. I'm going to put the bill date to, again, the 1st of December 2022. Due date, I'll give the same. There we go. I'm going to add a bill for £80. Choose the category it comes under and click Save and Review. There's my bill. Then if I go back to the banking section and go back to latest statement upload, there's the bill payment. So I can click on it and FreeAgent has suggested the bill for me. It may have already matched this as well if you enabled Guess when you uploaded your statement, but if FreeAgent didn't do this, you would make sure it's chosen bill payment and my supplier for the suggestion before you click Explain Transaction. Alternatively, if you don't have a bill to match the payment to, you can explain the cash out of the bank as payment and choose the category from the drop-down instead of creating a bill. So I could either do that there, or because I've got two transactions that I want to put to the same category, again, I can tick the boxes to the left-hand side and bulk explain those as stationery, like so. Again, I can explain those transactions. If you explain a transaction to a category incorrectly, you can change this either by clicking on the transaction in question, or you can edit them in bulk. But I think those are correct, so I'm going to leave those be. Again, whether you're creating bills or explaining bank payments, you can create additional cost categories if you need to under Settings and Accounting Categories. If you're VAT registered, please be sure to enter the correct rate of VAT for both income and expenses. The VAT returns in FreeAgent should then mirror the returns you've actually filed directly with HMRC, and we'd recommend marking them as filed to make sure that they don't get amended once you have made sure they're correct. If you're not sure how to do that, there would be guidance in our knowledge base around it. We saw there how to bulk explain transactions. Another feature that might save you some time here is Guess, that I've been talking about. When you click the upload statement option in the bank, you can choose to guess explanations for my bank transactions. That's when FreeAgent will attempt to match the transactions for you. If you have an open banking feed, not only will Guess be automatically enabled, but FreeAgent will also suggest transactions that could be explained to the same category in bulk. For Guess to work, you need to have uploaded at least one statement and explained at least one transaction, because FreeAgent uses the history of the transactions you've previously explained to help explain your next upload. And you can learn more about Guess by clicking that link here. You may also have some out-of-pocket expenses to enter for yourself or for one of your colleagues. These are business transactions where you've used your own personal cash to pay for them originally, and the business is due to give you the money back either in the near or long-term future. And to enter these, go to My Money and Expenses and click Create Your First Expense. By the way, if you're a sole trader and the only user on your account, that tab will be called Expenses, not My Money. So I'm going to create my first expense. I have the same options as I had for the bank payments to allocate to the appropriate category. I'm going to put in one dated on the 1st of December 2022, £100. And I'm going to say that was for accommodation and meals to stay in a hotel, and click Create New Expense. Then if I go back to the banking area, what I can see there when I choose my latest statement upload, that is where the business reimbursed me for that cost. So I can choose money paid to user and expense payment. Just quickly before I explain that, you can see FreeAgent is warning me I've got an unexplained transaction over here. Once I've explained this, that disappears and I get a message telling me that I've explained all my bank transactions. That's what I'm aiming for. You need to explain all transactions in all your business bank and credit card accounts to make sure that all your income and expenditure is included in your profit and loss report. And make sure that you've included all your out-of-pocket expenses too. You do also want to make sure that your bank balance in FreeAgent, that's that figure there, matches your actual bank account balance. And if it doesn't, there are probably missing or duplicate transactions, which would mean that your figures would not be correct. If you're a sole trader using a personal bank account, please make sure you explain all the business-related transactions. You can ignore the non-business transactions. All the transactions you've explained, where relevant, would be automatically pulled through to your profit and loss report. You can check that by going to Accounting, Reports, Profit and Loss, and choose the correct accounting year, which would be 2022 to 23 in this case. If you are preparing your tax return as a limited company director, you don't need to worry about the profit and loss figures because those are the company's income and costs. What will go on your tax return would be your salary and dividends from the company. If you're a sole trader or a landlord, do make sure you're happy with the sales and expenditure figures. You can click on each category to see how the figures are made up. You can then click through again to edit them if you need to. So what I just did there, if I go back a couple of steps, from my profit and loss account, I clicked sales, which gave me a show transactions view. Then I was able to click on the transactions to possibly edit them. So what you can see here are the two invoices I've created and some of the bank transactions I explained earlier. If you want to check your profit and loss figures back to your self-assessment tax return, what you can do is to choose to sort this report by tax reporting type to group the categories as they're grouped on the self-assessment return. For example, car, van and travel expenses shows me accommodation and meals. If I posted anything to travel as well, I would see that here too. The figures on the profit and loss report for sole traders and for landlords are pulled through onto the self-assessment return. To view that return, go to Taxes, Self-Assessment, choose your name if applicable, and choose the tax year you wish to file, which is 2022 to 23 in this case. Whatever account type you have in FreeAgent, you'll see all these pages: main return, employment, self-employment, and UK property, as well as tax adjustments and your tax breakdown. FreeAgent will pre-populate different pages depending on your account type. For example, if you have a landlord account, then the UK property pages will have some boxes pre-filled. And if you're a limited company director running payroll through FreeAgent, the employment pages will have some boxes completed, and your dividends will have been pulled through onto the main return. If we go to the self-employment page, you can see that since this is a sole trader account, the sales figure, for instance, from the profit and loss report has pulled through to box 9. FreeAgent automatically completes up to 90% of the self-employment page for sole traders and calculates the tax due based on any data you've entered in your account. If you did receive any coronavirus support payments, we explain in our knowledge base how to deal with those, but my understanding is those were very rare after the 6th of April 2022. Expenditure, in other words, the bank transactions, supplier bills, and out-of-pocket expenses you've entered and explained, are pulled through to the relevant boxes. So you can see those here. I say again, if you've got a limited company, remember that the company's income and expenditure would go on its tax return, not your tax return. So they won't appear under taxes and self-assessment. And that is as we expect. So when you're ready to think about filing your tax return, please do run through the final checks that FreeAgent provides before you do that. I clicked the Prepare to File Online button at the top of my self-assessment page, and it's telling you everything that you need to check. This list will help ensure you've entered all the relevant information and includes helpful links to each section of your self-assessment tax return. And you can also see there a list of the self-assessment pages supported by FreeAgent, which is included in our introductory knowledge base articles about self-assessment. Do go through the final checklist to make sure you've not missed anything. Once all the required forms have been completed on the self-assessment return, you will see the fields to enter your government gateway ID and password to file it online to HMRC. When a self-assessment tax return is filed, the relevant tax period will be locked, restricting any changes that would affect your return. You will also be given what's called an IR mark, which is a unique code provided by HMRC, which they can use to identify your submission. So if HMRC ever claimed they didn't receive your tax return, you can quote your IR mark to them. What I do need to say finally is that FreeAgent isn't licensed by HMRC to provide tax advice. We can only advise you on how to use FreeAgent. If you need tax advice, such as whether tax relief applies to a specific cost for your business, you would need to ask your accountant or look that up on HMRC's website for more guidance. If you have any questions on this webinar, please feel free to contact our support team by emailing support@freeagent.com, or where you see the help option here, that's our friendly robot Ruby. You can ask her questions. She'll answer you if she can, but if she can't help you, she'll forward your query to one of her human colleagues. Everybody who's attended this webinar will also get a copy of the recording so that you can watch it back. I hope it's been helpful. Many thanks for your time, and many thanks for taking the time to come along today. Good luck with completing and filing your tax return. Thank you very much.